Hey guys, it's Emily and welcome back to a new video. Today I'm going to be, this week I guess in general, I'm going to be reading a bunch of friends to lovers romance books. As many of you probably know, if you've been on my YouTube channel for, I don't know, however long, you probably know that friends to lovers is one of my all-time favorite tropes. Actually, it is my all-time favorite trope of all time. I love a good story about two friends falling in love with each other. Like, that is just my favorite trope. I think it's so sweet and it makes me smile. So there's a whole world in a global pandemic and, that's stressful and stuff, so why not lighten the mood a bit by reading stories about two friends falling in love, because I just love that. So let's jump into my TBR. The first one we have is Love, Life, and the List by Casey West. I don't really have the dust jacket on right now because I just don't feel like putting it on. I have started this book, but I'm going to probably restart it because I don't exactly remember what I've read. But this is a Casey West book. If you don't know, Casey West is one of probably my favorite contemporary author. I just love anything she writes. I've given her books, I think the lowest I've given her book is a 3-star, but that's only one book I've given a 3-star, so most of her books are 4 or 5 stars for me. So I just generally enjoy her writing style, and I've been wanting to read this one for a little bit now. I didn't know going into it, I think originally that it was a Friends to Lovers, and then once I started it I realized it was Friends to Lovers. So I'm a bit more excited to read this book just because I love a good Friends to Lovers story. It's wonderful. This one is about this girl, and she is trying to improve her art skill, and so she wants to improve her art skill because she wants to be an artist, and gets her paintings hung, but they're she needs to experience more to kind of get better with her art skill, so she does all these things with her best friend over the summer to kind of improve her art skill, just to get her out of her comfort zone, but they fall in love along the way, and she's kind of had a crush on him forever, but he's kind of been not interested, so very intrigued. I'm very excited to read this. I love Casey West's writing, so I'm sure I'm going to love this. I hope it becomes my new favorite. I mean, just because it's Friends to Lovers. I think Casey West can write great Friends to Lovers books. We'll see if this becomes a new favorite. I'm excited to read this one. The next book we have is Sage and Storm by Leigh Bardugo. This is the second book in the Shadow and Bone trilogy, and I've already read the first book, so I already know about the Friends to Lovers relationship. This is the sequel to it, and we're kind of seeing the relationship progress and where that's going to go. Now they could break up from this book. In the first book, we meet Mal, who is Alina's best friend, and they've been so close since they were basically raised together, and they have just been so close, and she's kind of had a crush on him, and then he ends up returning his feelings for her, and I really enjoyed the love story. That's a pretty unpopular opinion for me, but I wanted to spice my TBR and not just have contemporary books, so this is a non-contemporary book. But it takes place in a fantasy world that has a Friends to Lovers story, so we're excited about this. The next book we have is Guilt Hollow by Lori Langdon for my audiobook. Just because I need an audiobook throughout the week because I'm usually doing some work, or not work, but I'm working on stuff. So Guilt Hollow. This one is about this girl and this guy, and they were friends, but then I guess the guy went to prison, but she's kind of always believed in him, and she didn't think that he was framed. She thought he was framed, I think, or something like that. So he ends up coming back out of prison, and she's still seeing a lot of good things in him, and he kind of wants to see those things in himself, I think. I'm pretty sure it sounds Friends to Lovers to me, from my understanding of it, so I did not know that until I read the synopsis today, so I'm excited to read this one. I love Lori Langdon, she's one of my favorite authors, so I'm very excited about this one as well. Then we have Magonia by Maria Devona Headley, which I have in my closet. Again, I think I can get the audiobook for this one as well. But this one is about this girl. This one's a fantasy story. This one does not have extreme emphasis on the Friends to Lovers relationship, but this one is about this girl, and I think she has some really bad disease, and I think she might end up dying, but I know it's from her and her friend's perspective, and I think they like each other or something, so there is some Friends to Lovers thing that goes on between them. So I've been wanting to read this book for years. I've owned this book for such a long time, and I've been always so excited to read this. This just sounds wonderful, and every time I've started it, I've really enjoyed it, but for some reason I've never continued on with it. So I'm really excited to read this one, just because I've owned it for so long. So then we have The Fascinators by Andrew Elpoulias or something like that. I don't know. This book just came out, so I haven't really heard a whole ton of stuff about it, but I'm hoping I enjoyed it. This has been compared to The Raven Boys, and I think, yeah, it's been compared to The Raven Boys, I think, in the sense of the magic system. The magic system sounds super cool. I think it's magical realism. But basically it's like about this world, I think, where like using magic is pretty frowned upon, but these three friends are like to use magic. They have like heard of some magic club or something like that, and one of our main characters is falling in love with his best friend, so gotta be trash for that. I don't think the romance is the main part of the story, but it is a part of the story, so I think that will be fun to see. I've been very excited to read this book, so I've been itching and waiting to read this, so I'm very excited about this one. I'm excited about all of them. They all are like really books that I'm excited about. I feel like they all have potential to get 5 stars from me, which is saying a lot. They're all, I think, because like this is just like something I'm like totally in the mood for. I'm kind of jumping back into the contemporary a little bit. I'm very excited to read all of these books, so I will update you guys once I have started reading them. Okay, I'm a little tired, but that is to be expected. I've started Glit Hollow by Lori Langdon, which if you don't know, Lori Langdon co-wrote the Dune series, which is one of my favorite series of all time. I've been meaning to get to her own books that she's written by herself for a little while now, and I've finally picked this one up. I've been wanting to read this one for a long time, so I'm glad I can finally get to this in this video. This book is basically about this girl named Willow and this guy named Ashton. So I guess Willow and Ashton, I don't know if other people were there or not, but Ashton's kind of technically been convicted of manslaughter for this boy. They took the plea deal and he was sent to juvie for a couple of years, and Willow tried to plead that he was innocent, but his parents decided that he was taking the plea deal, and then he has to go to juvie, and throughout that, there's kind of some miscommunication involved. Willow was sending him letters, but it didn't seem like he was getting these letters. Ashton just assumed that she didn't want anything to do with him and didn't want to contact him, so they both, there's some miscommunication. They both think that they don't care about one another when they actually do, so that's been interesting to unravel. I'm waiting for that to, be, a big thing that they actually talk about. So far, they haven't really talked about it yet. And it's kind of just, the mystery. I feel like there's, a mystery aspect, I guess, to what exactly happened with Ashton and the person he supposedly killed. I feel like he didn't obviously kill him. I think I have theories. I feel like it's obviously someone else, and I have theories already on who it is, and I feel like I'm right. I'll let you know if I am. I'm not going to say who it is, but I'll let you know if I'm right. I feel like this story is going to be predictable, and I feel like I'm going to be right. I'm 30% into it so far, and so far it's entertaining. I'm enjoying it. It's kind of just I don't know, I'm being tired today. It's not something I have to super concentrate on. It's just it's a mellow read, and it's kind of nice for me right now, especially because I just feel like lying down, closing my eyes, and just listening to a book for a bit. Overall, I am enjoying this book so far. The relationship, I feel like we should talk about that just because this is a best friend relationship book for this video. So, overall, there's some, like I said, they were best friends before, basically, and then they've kind of, I guess, had this falling out with the events that have happened between them and just in general in their lives. So I'm curious to see how that's going to unravel. I don't really quite ship them yet. It's kind of I have meh feelings about the relationship. So far I don't care that much, so there's a lot of angst and stuff, but we'll see if it, gets better and gets to a point where I do start shipping it more. But so far it's kind of just alright. But overall, I think the story's pretty good so far, and I'm enjoying it, so I'm excited to continue on with it. Alright, so I have now finished Glit Hollow by Lori Langdon. I didn't really update you guys a lot, just because I feel like I'm reading a lot of books for this already, so I will try to update you when I can, but I didn't really in general have a lot to say about this book. But I'm gonna give it 4 stars. I really enjoyed this book. I was hoping I would. I've read the Dune series, and I love Lori Langdon's writing, so I'm glad that I generally enjoyed this. I will say, obviously, I knew going into this I wasn't gonna like it more than Dune because I just, adore that series. However, I will say I think I like the ship in this better than I liked Veronica and Jamie from Dune. So, were we expecting that? I don't know. McKenna and Duncan were my standout ship from Dune, but I will say, these two were cute. Basically, this book follows, our 2 main characters. We have Willow and Ashton, and Willow and Ashton were best friends until Ashton was convicted of manslaughter, and he went to juvie for a few years and is now being let out on parole. And since he's come back, there's kind of some miscommunication between Willow and Ashton. Ashton just thinks that everybody left him, including like the one person he counted on, which was Willow, and Willow believes that Ashton no longer wanted anything to do with her because she had been sending letters and got no response from him and started to give up and was kind of upset about it. So that's the gist of that. So they're coming back, and it's like also a mystery thriller-esque somewhat, where we're kind of figuring out like what really happened with that crime and who the culprit really is. Is it really Ashton or is it really somebody else? And overall, I really liked this book. So there was a best friend relationship, which was like I guess the main portion of what we're talking about here. So let's talk about that first, I think, above all else. I thought the relationship was actually really cute. I really enjoyed it. I shipped them together. I think at the beginning I was saying I felt like pretty mad about it, but I think overall as the story went along, I really enjoyed the ship a lot more. I thought they were really cute together. I was rooting for them. I really shipped them together. So I quite enjoyed them, and I think saying that I shipped them more than Veronica and Jamie also can somewhat say a lot, because Dune's like one of my favorite series. And this book I think just held up. I think it was really good. I quite enjoyed it. I just thought they were like so cute. And I loved how they were like so there for one another and like really like, you know, helping each other out. And I just thought it was really sweet. I just loved it. It was so cute. I will say though, I did for a little while. I just didn't feel like a best friendship kind of thing to me. I think the book does like depict that like they're not dating until like a certain point or whatever. But I will say, I don't know, I kind of wanted more flashbacks from this book. I kind of wanted to see more glimpses of their relationship in the past to kind of, I don't know, give me more background knowledge on what their friendship is essentially like, where, you know, how it started, like how they met. Like I would have loved, I don't know, I think more flashbacks, I guess, of their friendship. I think we saw a few flashbacks, but I just wanted some more. Just to get more of a glimpse of what their friendship used to be compared to what it is when the story starts. It was good. So it is a mystery. I did quite enjoy the mystery aspect of the book, though I did predict who the killer was on page 1 and was right. I think I kind of slightly mentioned that I had a prediction without saying who it was, but I was right about those predictions, so it is predictable. I think a lot of YA thriller mystery stories tend to be, for the most part, at least from what I've heard. This one was predictable for me, but I think it was still like a fun mystery. I quite enjoyed it, and I just like wanted them to uncover the truth so like they could just like live in perfect harmony and happiness together, because I just really liked these characters and I just wanted them to be happy. So overall, I really liked this book. I thought it was really good. There wasn't really anything bad I could say about it, but I think just because of the fact that I like wanted more flashbacks, and I think that I could predict who the person was. Like I don't know, it was predictable for me. I'm also really good at predicting things, but like other people might not see it coming. So, but overall, I would recommend this book. I thought it was really good, and if you're looking for like a fun, fluffy best friend relationship, well, I don't know, is it fluffy? It was a cute best friend relationship with also like a mystery aspect. Then, if you're looking for that, then I definitely recommend this book. Hello, and yeah. So I have started Magonia. I'm about 50 pages into it so far, and I'm really enjoying it. I am so excited to see where the frick this story is gonna go. I've been wanting to read this book for like so many years now. Like I think, like I bought this book so long ago. I believe it was like in one of like the first book haul I uploaded, and I've been wanting to read it for the longest time, and for some reason I've been pushing it off, which is kind of dumb because like I'm loving this so far. This follows a girl named Aza who's been diagnosed with like a rare disease essentially, and the doctors don't know what's going on with her. Like her disease is so rare they literally named the disease after her. So she's kind of like her lungs are somewhat displaced or something, so she's like has trouble breathing a lot of the time. So like they don't know what's going on with her. And they're trying to help her as much as they can, but like, you know, like they don't know exactly what to do. So she's like about to turn 16, I believe. And we have her, and then she is, I'm not quite making the most sense right now. But basically, she kind of is starting here, like, she sees like this like boat in the sky or something, and then she like keeps hearing these like whispers or something of like that are calling out to her. So she's trying to essentially figure out what that is. I haven't figured out what it is yet, so I feel like I can't give you a complete synopsis quite yet, but that's 50 pages in. That's basically what I know. I got Jason, who is her best friend, obviously. And it seemed like they're platonic at the moment, which I really appreciate. I really love, like, that they're showing that they're platonic and she doesn't have feelings for him. He probably has feelings for her. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if he had feelings for her. He also gets his perspective in here, but, like, it's very much later on. We see mostly from Az's perspective, and then a bit from Jason, so I'm excited to read that. But, yeah, there's a relationship going on between them. They're talking about Magonia now, and it's, like, this place or some kingdom or something, or explaining what it is. So far I think it's so cool. I saw, like, the book trailer for this years ago, which is the reason I wanted to buy this book. Like, I don't know, it looked so interesting to me. And I was like, I need to read this. So I've been wanting to read this book for, like, a very, very long time, and I finally have an excuse to do so, and I'm so glad I finally am reading this book. I've picked it up multiple times, and I was interested in it, too. Like, it wasn't, like, a book that, like, when I picked it up, I was like, oh, whatever. Like, I was genuinely interested in it, and for some reason I just never continued on with it. So I'm glad I'm finally doing that now, because so far I'm really adoring the story. I'm so excited to see where things go. I'm excited to see the relationship with her and Jason, obviously, because it's the best friend video. I think, is it too early to predict that this might be my favorite book of the entirety of this video? Is it too early to say? I feel like all of these books have potential to be 5 stars. I think this one the most. This has, like, been in my 5-star predictions for years now. I've been, like, wanting to read it for years, and I predicted I'm going to give it 5 stars for years, so hopefully it lives up to that. So far, I think the writing's really entertaining and really engaging. I'm really enjoying the storyline. It's so unique and interesting. I haven't really read anything quite like it before. I think it's a great story so far. I need to find a way to get the sequel, because I'm probably going to want to read that at some point here. So far, I'm really enjoying this book. I think it's wonderful. So I think I'm going to continue on reading this book. We'll see what I think of it. I know I literally talked to you guys about this book like 20 pages ago, but we're talking about it again. Just all the frickin' feelings I frickin' feel from this book. It's like, I'm at a loss for words, honestly. This is wonderful. I'm quite enjoying it so far, and, like, it's only been 72 pages, and, like, I just die for these characters. This is a best friend reading vlog, so, like, I'm gonna talk about the relationship a lot, even if that's not, like, the main part of the book. I have a lot of feelings. I'm sad to see the characters sad. That kind of breaks my heart, just seeing them sad already. This world is so cool. This is, like, I feel like this book's so weird. I gotta say. I feel like, I'm like, what the frick is going on? Like, what the frick is even happening? This book is, like, really weird. So if you like weird stuff, I recommend this. Because this is, like, probably one of the worst things I've ever read. But, like, I love it. I'm like, do I have much more thoughts to say? Oh, yes, I forgot to mention. Jason has OCD. So there's some OCD rep in here. Whether to judge that's good rep or not, I wouldn't know. I don't really know a lot about OCD in general. And I don't, like, I'm not able to speak on that kind of stuff. So I'd say look at reviews to make sure that the reps, like, from someone who has OCD, if to say if that's accurate or not, because I'm not the one to speak on that. But just to let you know, there is some OCD rep. I feel like Azza and, like, Jason have, like, bonded so well. Like, they understand each other. Like, they just have, like, I don't know, you're trying to convince me they're not soulmates. They have, like, such, like, a great understanding of one another. I think I can give you more of a synopsis now, a little bit more. Basically, this book's about this girl named Azza, who's been diagnosed with, like, this super rare illness. Like, it's so rare, she's, like, basically the only person that has it, and she's been basically, like, what's the word, they named the illness after her, so, like, that's how rare it is, and they're trying to figure out, like, how to fix it. She's, like, a breathing problem, there's, like, a feather in her lungs, and there's some really weird scenes. She swallowed birds. I feel like that gets you to the weirdness of this book. It's very weird, but if you like weird, would recommend. Basically, she dies, kind of. I don't really know the gist of that yet, and goes to this place called Magonia, which I don't really know, like, what her purpose is there yet, but she goes there. While Jason's stuck on Earth. He seems to believe all the stuff she's saying and stuff like that, so, like, I feel like, I don't know if he's gonna die. That's the gist of what's happening right now. I need to continue reading this, so I'll update you guys later once I have, I feel like, more decent thoughts. I tried to come on camera, I feel like, to give you guys a random update, but I already feel like this update was like a complete mess. Like this just random update I just gave you. Like I don't think it made any sense to anybody but like maybe me. I'm sorry. But like I feel like I just don't exactly have the words to tell you either how much I like about this book, how I'm feeling about this book, and all those things. Like I don't know if I have the words. Alrighty, so it's been a hot minute. I have iced tea, so I'm in my happy place. For Mangonia, I'm almost halfway, I think about halfway. I'm like 44%, I think, through it. I'm on page 136. And overall, this book is wonderful, and it's so weird. I feel like I'm partially like, what the frick am I even reading right now? And at the same time, like, literally loving, like, every moment of it, and I don't want to go, like, into express detail about it, because I don't want to spoil people if you are interested in this book. I keep saying I can now tell you what this book's about, but, like, at the same time I don't want to spoil you, so I'll tell you what more this book's about when I finish it. So I feel like I don't need to say it, what this book's about, for, like, the third freaking time. This book just blows my mind out of the water. It's so well crafted. I don't know how the frick she came up with this. I feel like she was, like, watching Barbie Swan Lake, because that's how I'm picturing most of the characters as, the villains from Barbie Swan Lake. That's why I'll put a picture up on the screen of how I picture, like, most of the characters in this book. I feel like make you think that this book's weirder than it is. I didn't like Swan Lake, but I'm, like, adoring this. I feel like if you like Swan Lake, you might like this. Is this Swan Lake retelling? Now that I'm thinking about it, is it? This could very well be a Swan Lake retelling. Basically, the plot, like, they're in Magonia. I don't know that. They're in Magonia now, so we're kind of, like, discovering the world, and it's so intricate and so cool. Like, it's so beautifully written, and it's such a cool world to learn about. Like, I'm genuinely, like, so interested. Like, I feel like, again, like, this world's kind of boring and basic. This world blows my mind. I want to learn, like, more about this world and these, like, ships in the sky, like, how this all works. Like, it's so cool. It, like, makes me, like, interested in wanting to know more about the world. The characters in that world, though, I hate them all. They all are dead to me. But at the same time, I think that that's what the author was trying to do, is make you not like these characters, essentially, because, like, I mean, they're kind of, like, trolling on us human people, also known as drowners. They don't like us humans, so maybe that's why I'm biased, and I'm like, I don't like you back. They don't really care about her feelings, it's all about what they want. They're kind of like selfish beings, so that's interesting. But I think they're gonna improve over the course of the story. I think we're gonna hate them originally, but then, I don't know. She keeps saying, oh, this place is home to her, but she also wants to go to her old home, essentially, because, like I said, these people, like, literally do not care for her at all. Like, they want her there because she's important and whatever, but, like, I feel like they just do not care about her actual feelings. They're like, you're doing this now, you have no freaking choice, sucks to be you, but this is what we want, so you're doing this. And she's like, but no, like, I didn't ask for this, like, excuse me. I also believe, I have a theory, and I'm pretty sure I'm right about this, but I think that Jason, who's currently on Earth, is also somehow, like, gonna be involved in this world and, like, part of this world. So I'm excited to see that. I'm pretty sure he's somehow gonna get there. They're somehow gonna meet up again. I know that. I'm just curious to see how that's going to happen. And I'm very excited to, like, he's somehow, like, involved in this world. I think he's somehow meant to be there as well. But I don't know, they're gonna find something, maybe, I don't know. But as for the relationship aspect, as this is a friends to lovers relationship, this may be, like, one of the most well-written relationships I have ever read in my life, and they're, like, barely together. But the author has, like, already convinced me 136 pages into this book that these characters are meant to be together, and we're, like, literally made for each other, and that they are soulmates, and you cannot convince me otherwise. Like, I feel like I've never really been, like, I've always, like, constantly, like, shipped characters together, and I'm still probably gonna do that with multiple books. I'm like, oh, I really want these characters together, or, like, stuff like that, where I feel like in this book, like, I feel like their souls are, like, intertwined, and that they're meant to be together. Not that they should be together, or that I want them together, even though I generally do feel that way, but, like, I felt like they are literally meant to be together. The way they communicate with each other, the way that they care for one another, like, again, I'm so in awe of this writing. I'm sad I'm pretty sure that she doesn't have any other young adult books, which I'm kind of sad about, but I might check out more of her books because I'm like loving this one so much. They're constantly like thinking about one another, especially Jason, obviously, for obvious reasons. It's so well crafted, their relationship. Overall, this book is blowing my mind. I'm excited to continue on with the story. Alrighty, so I have now finished Magonia by Maria Dahvana Headley, and I gave it 5 stars. I don't think anyone is surprised that I gave this book 5 stars. Like, I was expecting to give it 5 stars. Even back when I bought it, I thought it sounded so cool, and I'm glad I didn't read it for like years on end. I feel like this is one of those rare cases. There's some books that I've owned for such a long time, and sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm glad I finally got around to this, but I feel like there's other books and I'm like, I'm glad I didn't read it in the past, and I'm glad I read it now because I definitely appreciate it more now. And then there's other books where I'm like, I should have read this in the past, I would have appreciated it more then. I don't know, there's a lot of, that's the gist of how I feel about books. This is one of the cases where I'm glad I read it now more than I would have been had I read it in the past. I think younger Emily would have not been able to wrap her mind around all the craziness that this book was, and it's so like just out of the box, so unique, so wonderful. Now I can give you like a good synopsis. Basically, this book follows a girl named Aza and this boy named Jason, and Aza has been essentially dying her whole life, as all humans do. She has this like rare disease. She's like a feather in her lung. Well, that's a later thing, a little bit later thing. But basically she's like this rare like breathing disease, and she has been essentially kind of dying. And the doctors don't know what's wrong with her. To the point that like they literally like named this disease that she has after her, and they're still trying to figure out how to deal with it. Like, her mom's been looking into it a lot, her best friend Jason's been looking into it a lot. Basically, she dies, and I mean dies like this, and she ends up in this world of Magonia, and the story basically goes from there. I feel like if I go any more deep into it, I'm gonna spoil people. So, but that, yeah, and then we got the best friend Jason, who's kind of trying to figure out what happened to her because he doesn't believe that she died. Both their perspectives, which I really enjoyed. I would have liked like a little bit more of Jason's perspective, but I do realize that most of the story does take place in Magonia, and we need to know more about what Az is going through rather than what Jason is going through. But I thoroughly enjoyed this so much. I'm so smiley about this book because it was so good. It just blew my mind. I think it's so unique to anything I've ever read. Like, there's nothing I can really compare this book to. Like, it's so one of a kind. It's so unique. There's no other book out there that's like this book, and I loved it. The world, like I said, I think I've expressed is so cool, so unique. I loved the idea of it. I think she said like it was based off like folklore or something like that. Let's talk about the relationship since that's what we're basically here for. Even though these characters, like these characters have like a past together, they've known each other since they were 5, so there's already development within that. And you really feel these like how much these characters like just love one another. Like, they're, like, in love, and you can't convince me otherwise. Like, it's so well written. Like, I feel like I've never been more convinced that these two characters are in love with each other, and, like, are soulmates, and their souls are intertwined, and, like, it's not even, like, a plot line or anything like that. Like, I'm legitimately, like, convinced, even though it's not, like, a plot line, that, like, these two are soulmates, and they're meant for each other, and they're so sweet together, and, like, they just, it's wonderful. There's this Dai character. I don't really know the gist of that. It's a weird relationship. I feel like it's not romantic, but I don't know what to make of it. But if that becomes a thing, Emily won't be happy. I think it'd be kind of dumb at this point if she ended up with anyone but Jason, because, like I said, her and Jason are just meant to be together. They're soulmates, like, and this Dai character and her have, like, no chemistry. Like, you can... Like, I feel like the writer, Maria Dahvana Headley, does like such a good job at, like, portraying the relationship between Jason and Aza. I think without them, like, spending, like, majority of the book, like, they're not together, in a sense, like, physically, like, not together. Like, they're in two different worlds, essentially, for majority of the book. And how this book still convinces you of that relationship, and, like, how, like, that, like, how much they care for one another, even when they're, like, worlds away from each other. It's just, like, that's love there, okay? I adored this. I'm glad I got to pick it up for this video, and that you guys can hear me gush about how much I adore this book. It's just so good. The relationship is so done. But yeah, I think I think the only thing that could ruin this for me at this point is if she all of a sudden ended up with Dai, and I'm not convinced of that. I'm not convinced. I'm like, there's no chemistry. Like, that would be the only thing that would, I think, hinder my enjoyment of the books. Okay, so it's like 11:50 p.m. It's almost midnight. But I've been reading Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo. This is the second book in the Shadow and Bone trilogy, Grisha trilogy. That's what I meant. I'm enjoying it. I'm like about 100 pages in or so now. I was gonna like stop like a bit before 100 pages, and then I was like, screw it, I'm gonna read the next chapter. So, this book's good. I'm on page 106, so I'm excited to continue on with this. I'm just gonna guess here that like most people who probably end up watching this are going to be Darkling fans. I feel like that's the majority of people. Majority of people seem to like the Darkling, and I'm the unpopular one who likes Mal. Sorry, not sorry. The best friend character, unless like he's Gale, I'm obviously gonna root for him. No, y'all don't want the sweet boy. Y'all want the boy who's like literally saying he's going to basically torture Alina. He's going to like cut off pieces of her skin and like let the other healers heal her, but like let her feel like all this pain. Like, y'all are trying to tell me that you want her to end up with this boy. And I'm like, no! And that's my opinions on the Darkling. So far, I've had like a few little like sweet moments between her and Mal. Let's talk about her and Mal now. They're cute. There's a plot line I feel like going on, like, I don't know, each time I read this book I keep comparing it to Shatter Me. Like, the love triangle like gives me strong Shatter Me vibes. Like, Adam is like Mal and Warner is essentially the Darkling. Though I like Mal better in this one, I don't really have a preference in the Shatter Me series, to be honest. Like, everyone hates Adam, and I'm not on that train. But I'm assuming people dislike Mal in the same sense that people, I guess, dislike Adam. I guess, like, everyone, like, wants, like, the main character to be, like, powerful and, like, this awesome human being, which I understand. I do, too. But at the same time, I think that Mal, we're not gonna talk about Adam anymore, but Mal basically wants her to, you know, like, he wants her to be safe, and, like, they're taking on, essentially, without spoiling things, they're taking on, like, more powerful things, and he's kind of scared. Like, he cares about this girl, he's known her since they were little, like, they're, like, the close, like, I think they have a really close bond. I think, like, they're, out of anyone they know, like, I think they're closest with each other, and they're really cute, too. So, like, I think he has reasons to be scared. Like, I see where Alina's coming from, where Alina's, like, you know, like, I think she's, like, in the sense she wants to defeat the Darkling. But then you got, like, Mal, who's, like, kind of scared for her. And, like, I think that's a reasonable emotion to have about someone that you care about. You don't want them to get hurt. You, like, power comes at a price, and, like, you don't want that price to be their life, or you don't want them to change, you know, because, like, I understand Mal's fears, and that's why people hate him. I don't know if there's something else. There's, like, little sweet moments, and he was, like, all worried about her, and it was just really cute. Just, like, I feel like there's, like, that's been the whole first part of the book. The first 100 pages is Mal just being worried about Alina, Alina being worried about Mal, and them, like, constantly having to worry about each other, and, like, they just want to be free. Let's talk about the plot. I'm really having fun with the plot. I think it's interesting. I feel like, again, like, I feel like most people it's like a basic fantasy story, but like that's what I need. Like, I don't like high fantasy. I feel like as much as it's cool as it can be, I just don't understand that world. My brain like does not comprehend like high fantasy stuff. I'm debating getting into higher sci-fi and fantasy. Maybe they will, because at this point, you know, I've been reading a lot of it, so I might be able to understand it better. This one is like really light and easy to understand. It doesn't really go over my head. Sometimes, like, I can't pay attention as much, but that's just because my brain, like, has this issue with understanding fantasy books, and that's why I don't really reach for them. But this book is just super easy to understand. It's my perfect kind of fantasy. I'm really enjoying it so far. I think it's really good. I like the characters. I'm excited to see where it's gonna go. And I'm excited to see more of Mal and Alina. So, I'm about 160 pages into Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo. I was planning on giving you an update when I got halfway, but I decided to update you guys earlier. This is like a different, I feel like, scenario with the whole friends to lovers thing, because they kind of get together in the first book, and this is like a series. and I'm reading the sequel. So, I mean, if you really want to see my thoughts on Mal and Alina for the first book, if you want that thoughts, I did do a whole reading vlog for my Goodreads video where I did read Shadow and Bone, if you are interested. I feel like I waited a little too long to read Siege and Storm because I think part of me is not like feeling like any of the relationships until like I just this last chapter. But basically, I'm pretty sure my theories on why people don't like Mal is correct. I don't think it's spoilery, so I think people just don't like him because he's like, he's human, dude. That's what I'm gonna call him. He's human. He has reasonable concerns about Alina, and I think Alina and Mal at this point in the story are kind of going in two different directions. At this point in the story, they want two different things. Like, they're best friends. They want to support each other. They're somewhat in love, I guess. I don't know. At the same time, they're also going in two different directions, and they want two different things, and right now, those things aren't lining up. I'm pretty sure it's going to line up eventually, but at this point in time, those things aren't quite lining up. Alina wants to have more power, and I feel like Mal just wants like a quiet, peaceful life with her. I think what Leigh Bardugo does a good job at writing Mal in the sense that like he has real human emotions. I think it's realistic for somebody not to be like, let's fight all the time. Like, Mal's tired of this. He just wants, a quiet life with Alina, and I don't blame him for that. I think that's totally reasonable. I'd probably want the same thing, honestly. Like, as much as, like, fantasy books are great, and, like, you love reading about them, like, Mal is just, like, a person that just wants a quiet life, and, like, that's okay, Like, so, I don't know if that's people's problem with him. If not, I could be totally wrong. But Alina, also at the same time, she's discovering this new power in herself, and she wants to figure this out for herself, and, there's, like, things she's gone through, and she wants to defeat the Darkling, she wants to do all these things. And, like, I think that's also reasonable at the same time. So, I think there's not really a side I'm on. They kind of just had, like, a bit of a fight, which, broke my heart. I'm excited to see where this story's gonna go more on, and what the frick's gonna happen with Mal and Alina, and where their story's gonna go. Will they be together at the end of this book? That would suck if I chose this as the book to read for this friends lovers thing, and they were not together at the end of this book. As for the fantasy aspect of the story, I enjoy it, but I don't know, maybe because I haven't read Shadow and Bone in like a few months. I read it back in February, which wasn't that long ago, but I guess I've read so many books since then, my brain is like trying to remember all these things. Like, I feel like I remember it quite well. I also listened to the audiobook while I read that one. Like, I was kind of reading it and listening to the audiobook at the same time, whereas this one I did not have access to the audiobook, so I kind of am just physically reading it, which I think is kind of a bit of a struggle, just because I definitely just struggle with reading fantasies. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, this is why I don't really reach for fantasy that often, is just because my brain seems to comprehend what's going on in fantasy worlds, and, like, can't wrap my mind around it. So it's a rare time that I do pick up a fantasy, just because, like, I feel like I can't pay attention to it, and usually I listen to fantasy books and stuff on audio. It's not often that I physically read a fantasy book, unless it's, like, urban fantasy. Usually that's pretty easy to understand because you're explaining it, or magical realism, because you're usually explaining it to the main character as you're explaining it to the reader, so it makes more sense. But I feel like with a lot of fantasy stories, you're kind of just thrown into this world, and there's, like, world building and stuff like that, but I find it really difficult to understand what's going on. I think this one isn't like an extreme case of that, but it's a mild case of that, where I'm trying to understand what is happening. I think I have the gist of what's happening, but there was some scenes I was like kind of reading through and I'm like, do I know what just happened? And I'm like, I don't think so. So, I mean, I don't think it was like super duper important, but could have missed something. Who knows? I'm enjoying the story. I don't think I'm liking it as much as Shadow and Bone, maybe because I didn't read like these two books back to back, which maybe I should have done. Because I wasn't in the mood to read fantasy back in February, let's be honest, and now I kind of am. So that's the gist on how I'm feeling about this book. It's been a few days since I've like updated you, honestly, because I didn't really read anything throughout like all of last week. Let's talk about Siege and Storm. I'm at the halfway point, at least almost halfway, on page 206 currently. I think at this point in time, I feel like I'm going to end up giving this a 3, which is kind of sad. I was not expecting going into this to give this a 3, especially since I really enjoyed Shadow and Bone. I don't know if it's just because of the fact that I don't have an audiobook. Like, I'm not listening to this as an audiobook and reading along with it, because I find with this book, with fantasies in general, like, I need to listen to it. I need to hear what some people, I don't know, speaks, and I feel like I understand when people are saying it rather than reading it on page. I feel like, especially with like fantasy and stuff like that. Otherwise, it goes over my head. I don't understand what's going on. And even if it's like so basic, like this book is so basic. So, yeah, you heard it from me first. This book's basic. I feel like rather than like, I'm not like questioning the author's decisions, you know, because like, I'm pretty sure I know who she ends up with. I can't blame the author for like anything I'm getting mad about. It's more like, I'm more mad, I guess, about the people who've read this book. I'm so confused by people's opinions, which I should not factor into any way that I rate a book, honestly. I'm just so confused by people's opinions. Everyone seems to hate Mal, and like, I don't understand. Especially when they like, I don't know if this other guy's a love interest or not. It seems people ship them together. I don't know if that's a thing. The other two guys, who I guess are kind of, I don't know, interested in her. I don't really know if they're even interested. I don't even know what to say. But like, the other two guys that like people seem to ship Alina with are both problematic, and Mal is like the most decent. I don't know, decent is the word, but he's like honestly the best for her in my opinion. So we have the Darkling, and I feel like I've gone pretty to an extent in my talking about this series. I've talked about the Darkling, and I think I've talked about quite a lot about him and how I don't understand why people like him, because like he's literally trying to hurt the main character, whether that's physically or mentally. He's trying to essentially like hurt the main character to get, or Alina, to get her to do what he wants. There's the words. Same with this other guy. He's kind of the same. But like, I feel like with the Darkling, he's trying to hurt people she loves or hurt her, literally to manipulate her, and people, I guess, ship them together. I get it for the first book. Like, I totally understood. I totally got it. I low-key shipped them a little bit. But this book, I don't get it. First, I mean, he's not really in this book that much, to be honest. He like showed up like once towards the beginning, and then he kind of went MIA. And then we had Nikolai. For those who don't know, there's a story on Lovestruck called Queen of Thieves, and there's a love interest character named Nikolai. And he has gone down to become, like, one of my most hated fictional characters of all time. Whenever I read a story now, and there's a character named Nikolai, I'm already, like, on the fence about him. I already don't trust him, just because his name is freaking Nikolai. I just don't like Nikolais, because I don't know, I've hated Nikolais in the past, and he's no exception to that. He's like, I think he was they're on a ship together, anyways, and then he was revealed that he was the prince, or, I don't know. I'm so confused with the plot. I honestly don't really know what's happening. But then, it's basically, he's like, I don't know, a prince, long-lost prince, something like that, trying to reclaim his kingdom, I guess, with Alina on his side, and he's like, oh, we should, like, get married, and stuff like that. And she's like, no, and Mal's like, no. They're both like, no. She did not consent to this, she did not want to marry him, and he's like, fine. But, like, he's constantly pushing himself onto her. He was, like, kissing her hand, like, putting an arm around, like, just doing a lot of these physical things, and she was not okay with it. He was aware she's not okay with it. It's just, like, he's trying to force himself onto her, I guess, to make, her like him, which I'm not a fan of. There's, like, some ceremony, I don't know where they were, but there was something happening, and he ends up kissing her, and she is not okay with it. First of all, Mal is watching this. It's in front of everybody, and he's doing it so he can get his way with the people, because if the people like them together, well then, I don't know, I guess they have to, somehow. I don't know, he's really forcing himself onto her, like, and it's not cool. Like, she's not cool with it. She's like, I'm gonna rip this guy in half. Consent is a cool thing, you know? This guy doesn't respect consent, which makes me not respect him as a person. I'm not saying, you can like whatever you want, you know, I feel like, just want to make that clarification, you can like whatever you want, but, like, at least, like, I think you need to recognize, like, that, like, literally the Darkling and Nikolai are the more problematic characters, yet everyone seems to like them over Mal, and that makes no sense to me. I just don't understand people. So Mal, because this is a whole best friends to lovers relationship video, I need to talk about, like, the relationship. We finally, after 200 pages, they finally kiss, and then, they're together, but, like, they haven't really got any alone time together, because they're on this journey and Alina's trying to do things. Mal has improved as a character in general. He's gone from, kind of not being so supportive to, supporting her entirely, which I love. Honestly, out of all the characters, he's, like, the one that's actually looking out for what Alina wants, Even if he, like, he wanted stuff too, and he's, like, if they're in a relationship, he's trying to express those concerns, which I think is valid. And, like, it's not like what he was wanting is bad, unlike the other two characters. He's just like, I just want a quiet life, is that too much to ask? And then she wants to go, I don't know, save the world, I guess. And he's like, okay, I'll support you, so she made him, like, I don't know, she's like a guard thing now, and he's, like, in charge of it, which is kind of cute. They had a cute little moment together when she was giving her his, like, little, I don't know, pin thing or something. I don't know, it was cute. And so I like that they're now, it seems like they're, like, originally they were kind of, like, diverging, I guess, but now it seems like they're on the same page, which I'm enjoying. They're a couple that just slays together, and I love it. I love them together. They're great. I finally feel like I shipped them again, after this, like, one scene of them where they actually gotta be alone for, like, 5 seconds. The plot, I think I know what's happening. I feel like they'd go places, but I didn't know why they were in these places or why they were doing these things. Like, I had no clue why they were doing things they were doing. I feel like I'm more commenting on the romance than I am the plot, because that's the, first of all, that's the theme of the video, and second of all, that's just what I know how to talk about. So far, I'm enjoying it decently, but I feel like a lot of the times I'm always confused, or I, like, can't comprehend it. I'm not enjoying it like I did the first book. Probably because it's, like, I mean, the first book I got through in a day, partly because I had to, but it's also because I was actually genuinely interested in the plot for the most part. This one, I do care, but, like, it's not as good as the first book. I just don't think it lives up to that. Like, I'm leaning more toward a 3-star, and the first one was a 4.5 for me. Alrighty, so I have now finished Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo, and I have a lot of thoughts and feelings. I gave this a 3.5, so I think before I was saying I was going to give it a 3, so it did improve. I kind of, like, read, like, the last, like, 100 to 200 pages, like, today. I think the beginning part of the book was really interesting and entertaining. I really liked it. And then the rest of it kind of just dragged on into, like, the last 100 or so pages when I was finally back into it again. But the middle was just a bunch of mush and blah, 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 and I just didn't care. Like, I get you have to, like, plan how you're going to, I don't know, take down the Darkling, but, like, I didn't care. This book could have been a whole heck of a lot shorter, cut down, and I feel like you could have just added, like, this, like, the cut down version to Ruin and Rising and made a duology. Because this book had just a lot of, like, it was just a lot of filler. Like, there were some good plot points that I think were necessary to build off to the third book and final book in the series, but at the same time, it was just a lot of filler, and I just didn't care a lot of the time. I feel like that was mainly partly why I was probably not paying attention, because, like, I didn't care. I didn't feel like we needed to necessarily know all the stuff or, like, have all the stuff in this book that was happening. It was a lot of filler. Definitely did not like it compared to the first one. I feel like in the first book I really loved all the characters. In this book I didn't like the characters as much, which was sad, but I'm still, like, invested in their lives and I want to know what happens next. But I think my enjoyment for, like, basically all the characters has gone down quite a lot. Like, I think in the first book I still said I liked the Darkling. Not anymore. I don't get it anymore, guys. Alina, I started disliking her more in this book. This was a lot of character development. I started disliking her more than I did the first book. I liked her decently in the first book, but I felt that she was one-dimensional. I didn't really like her as much in this book, but I still find she's one-dimensional. I don't feel like she has, like, a lot of character to her. Mal's character, I think after reading the second half of the book, I think I did understand more why people don't like him as much. I think I started disliking him more. Could I say such a thing? I know, it's shocking. However, I think he's still the best out of the 3 guys, because he's not trying to either force her into a relationship, like both of them did. Yeah, I'm excited to see where the story's gonna go, though I really want to read Ruin and Rising now. I'm excited to read that one. I'm really hoping I do like it, and that, like, it's not, like, as slumpish or, like, as bad as this one was. This one just wasn't as great as the first book, and I was really hoping it would be, because I really loved the first book, and this was not that. So I'm about halfway through The Fascinators by Andrew what is his last name? It's by Andrew Elipule. I have no idea how to pronounce his last name, so I apologize for that. About halfway through this book so far, and I am enjoying it, which is good. It's not a disappointment, unlike some books that I've read. I think I can give you more of a synopsis now. Basically, this takes place in kind of like our world, but with magic. We follow these characters who are part of this magic club at their school. We mainly follow Sam. He's the main protagonist, but you kind of just get to see them. So they are part of this magic club, and someone in the club has gotten himself into some trouble. He was at a party and ended up going to hang out with some other magic people, and they started performing this spell which made James pretty scared, so he tried to make this book disappear, only somewhere he could find it to be let go. But now these magic people are basically coming after him and this club, so they have to go and find the book, and just that basically where that leads. And so we follow Sam, and there's a best friend relationship. I'm pretty sure that seems what the end game is. There's kind of a love triangle, I guess, but it seems like the end game is Sam and his friend. So the plot's so cool, and it's so fun to read about. Like, it's pretty simple for the most part. It's just like our world with magic, but like I just love that. I just love, like, it's urban fantasy, which is one of my favorite genres, if not it is my favorite genre. I love, like, when you take, like, our real worlds, but then, like, there's some, like, magical layer to it, whether there's, like, another world within that, such as, like, Dune or Rangonia, or there's just simply magic in this world, like the Raven Boys, I guess. This is magical, it's not urban fantasy, this is magical realism. This is magical realism because it is already a part of the world. It's not something the characters are discovering, it's already something that they know about. It's very fun to read about. It's become quite the addicting story once I got into it. It took me a little bit to get into it, but once I have, like, I'm hooked to the story. I'm excited to see where it's gonna go and, like, where this book is going to take the characters. We've also been introduced to another character named Liv, so I'm curious to see how her storyline kind of is going to intertwine with our main characters. The relationship is also adorable. I already ship it. Sam has, like, unrequited feelings for his best friend, so, you know, that's fun. It seems like there's something more between them, like someone else has been, like, flirting with Sam, and then we've got some jealousy going on, and it's quite fun. I just think it's obvious that they both love each other. Like, that seems like that's gonna be the endgame ship. Could be wrong though, but, like, that seems pretty hinted that that's the endgame ship at this point. And I quite ship it, though low-key was reminding me a little bit of a book that I just read on Wattpad, called Bittersweet Friendship, that kind of did a similar thing, but, like, in a way worse capacity. Doesn't seem like, because it kind of reminds me how, like, the friends, like, one of the friends in this book is like, oh, you need to get over him, like, you just need to get over that. Like, it's kind of similar to this other book where the friends were like, oh, you need to get over her, and yada yada yada. I'm convinced that there's some feelings going on. I'm very excited to see more of where those feelings go. And this relationship, I am down for it. I ship it quite a lot. I think they're so cute. I think the only really complaint that I've had so far was just Sam, I guess, and the church. And, like, I get that people have their own opinions and about religion and whatever, but as long as I feel like if you respect it and, like, you know, can, like, just, like, it's their personal business and whatever, like, I'm okay with that. Sam was, like, they went to this, girls' concert, there's this girl that James maybe likes, he's been hanging out with her from church, and they found out, they went to her, like, her concert, or whatever she was performing, her and her band, and then they found out that she was a praise band. He was like, oh, like, that's fine, like, that's whatever, it's cool, not what I'm into, but, like, that's cool. But then at the same time, like, him and Delia kind of made, like, an offhanded comment they probably shouldn't have, and like, we were, like, kind of, like, and he's kind of, I don't know, I feel like there was, I think, one comment he made about, like, he wanted, like, old James back, where, like, I feel like James didn't go to church, and I feel like I'm like, I think it's James' decision if he wants to go to church and embrace that, like, that's his choice and his decision, and it's not like Sam has been, like, you know, like, I don't think he needs, like, if he drastically changes because of church, I think that's a good thing, not a bad thing in the negative light that Sam, I guess, is painting that in. So I think that's my only really issue. It hasn't been, like, a huge thing. It was kind of a tiny thing. So as long as, like, just don't want it to come to a point where I'm like, but other than that, so far I think it's good and I'm liking it so far. So I'm going to go ahead and continue on with this. I'm going to try my best to finish this tonight just because I'm so addicted to the storyline that I think I probably could finish it tonight. I constantly, like, even when I wasn't reading this book, I was thinking about this book. So I'm going to try to finish it tonight and then give you my final thoughts. I don't even know how to start this. I have finished The Fascinators, and I'm stuck between a 3 and a 3.5 at this point in time. I'm sadly... I don't know why I have to say this again and why I'm like near somewhat tears because I'm so frustrated. Like, I'm in tears because I'm frustrated. I'm so mad where this book went. It was going so well, guys. Like, the first half of the book was like solid, really good, really enjoyable, and I don't know, I feel like we kind of have like an open ending and I don't really... Did I like the ending? I didn't like the ending at all. It was open and like I get some people like open endings. I don't like open endings, and from what my assumptions were, I didn't like where this went. Let's talk about plot. I feel like we had some really interesting plot lines with like this kind of cult, I guess, and the book and all that stuff, and like I really thought like it was kind of gonna be, it was compared to the Raven Boys, so I really thought we were gonna like feel the friendships, but at the end of the book it all kind of flopped. It was kind of, you know, like like when it was compared to the Raven Boys, we had like this friend group, and I love a friend group in a story. I was expecting kind of similar to the Raven Boys, like where like you really care about these characters and they have like this friend group and stuff. Not what this turned out to be. I think that's generally all I can say without going into spoilers. I'm frustrated about where that went. Like, I get the somewhat realism of it and understanding of some of it. I don't really understand exactly how things, I guess, left off for all of them. I just didn't like how, I guess, that ended. I wasn't a fan of it. I thought the magic stuff was cool to begin with, and then I just didn't... I was shocked by some things that happened. I don't get some things. I feel like some things were just there to confuse us and throw us off our game and make us feel things, but then they really didn't end up actually happening, which was kind of dumb. It was kind of just like a plot hole, and like, what does this mean? Like, I don't freaking get it. And now we're gonna talk about the ship. There was a love triangle, and I think that's all I can say without going into spoilers. So we're gonna go into spoilers now. If you want to hear my thoughts on that, or you want to hear... I'm going to talk about, I'll put the spoiler card on the screen, so I'll shut up when, it'll go away once I shut up. So we have, I don't know, I guess we had James and we had Denver, essentially. Denver was really, like, introduced at the beginning of the book, and I thought he was just going to be, like, some guy, and, like, but, like, James and Sam were going to end up together. But that didn't happen. I don't really know what the frick James and Sam's relationship was at the end of this. I kind of skimmed the last chapter because I really didn't care at that point anymore. I was like, I'm done. It didn't really, like, it kind of just confused me, the way it happened, and then I guess it didn't make sense, and then I guess all of a sudden Sam and Denver were together at the end of the book, but they had, like, no chemistry. Like, they were better off as friends, like, so much so. Like I kind of wanted Sam actually to remain single in the end. I would have been okay with Sam remaining single rather than it being hinted that, I guess, Sam and Denver are a thing now. Because I just think that Sam and Denver were just so strongly better off as friends. And it kind of, with this love triangle, kind of threw me off on who the frick I was supposed to ship Sam with. I think Denver was great. No hate against him. I think he was a great dude. But, you know, I think I was trying to make a best friend relationship video, and I thought that he would, and, like, that the best friends would end up together, and that's not what happened, and I'm so upset about it. I mean, that was the whole premise of this video, and that was what the synopsis said, is that, like, oh, Sam has feelings for his best friend, but, like, does he end up with his best friend? No! I get, at the same time, why James and Sam necessarily couldn't work. Like, obviously, like, James is, like, he's Christian, and, like, Sam doesn't really seem to care about, like, what the frick James believes. So I get logistically, like, honestly, like, Amber's probably really good for James, like, and, like, I don't really know where that was going. Like, I get why they didn't work out, but, like, why can't we just have Sam be single then? And, like, I felt like the synopsis was really hinting that I don't know, that, like, they were gonna get together, and then, because that's why I chose this book for this video, obviously, and I was really excited about this book in general, but that didn't end up happening, but, so, have I got my frustrations out? I think you've understood my main frustrations with this book. Overall, like, I just finished this book, so I don't really exactly know what to rate it, because I think, like, a lot of the book was good. I was anxious a lot of the whole time while I was reading this, like, for the last 50% I was anxious the whole time on, like, the love triangle, on the plot in general. It was just, like, filling me with so much anxiety, and it wasn't fun to read. It made me feel for the characters, and, like, I wanted to know what was going to happen, but at the same time, I didn't like feeling this, like, anxious like, I get, like, it's great to feel for the characters, and it's probably good that I did feel for the characters, but I didn't like feeling anxious so much, especially just maybe right now, because I don't, like, in this kind of time that we're in, like, I don't want to feel anxious about, like, a book and about characters and stuff like that, because I care too much. Overall, I feel like now I'm more, the first half was so strong that, yes, it was good, but the second half just kind of fell flat, and I just didn't like the direction the story took. I was excited to see where things were gonna go, but I didn't like the direction it took, and I think it just would have been better if things were done differently. It's been a little bit since I've updated you guys in a vlog. My hair looks like trash. I'm sorry. I look like trash. I'm sorry. Today I'm trying to finish up my last school assignment ever. So that's exciting. But with that, I've been listening to the audiobook of Love Life and the List. I decided to pick this book up on a whim today, so, and I'm probably going to finish it today. I just feel like that's going to happen at this point. It's probably about time that I give you guys an update on my progress before, like, I read the whole thing without telling you guys anything. I'm on page, I just had it, 157 currently, so to give you my thoughts so far, I'm definitely liking it a lot. As a Casey West book and where I ranked my list, I don't know it quite yet. I think I still have to read more. But so far it's good. I am enjoying it so far, and I think it's cute and fun. I don't have, like, a lot of feelings so far. To tell you honestly, like, I don't really have a lot of thoughts on this book at all. Just besides the fact that I'm liking it, I'm enjoying it, and I'm excited to continue. This book is about a girl named Abigail, Abby, whatever you want to call her, and she is an artist, and she's told she, like, needs more experience for her art, so she decides that she makes a list of all these things she wants to experience, and try to get out of her comfort zone so she can mature her art skill, basically. And her best friend Cooper is also doing this list with her, so, which is a lot of fun. I kind of like that. I think when I originally went into this book, I thought that she was going to do the list on her own, but instead she, like, is doing it with him, which I quite enjoy. I think that just works better, so I'm glad that's happening. Anyways, so the gist of their relationship is she has feelings for him. She's trying to get over them as she knows he doesn't like her back, but obviously stuff's gonna happen. And it's kind of, I don't know, I feel like he's very much friend-zones her. Like, it's very, I don't know, I can see him friend-zoning her, but also at the same time, like, he likes hanging out with her all the time, and that's kind of cute. And I enjoy their relationship. I think it's cute and fluffy and fun, and, you know, this is, like, my kind of contemporary book. This is a contemporary book that I would enjoy. I think most of that, otherwise, like, I don't really have other thoughts for you, besides that it's really good so far, and I'm enjoying it, so I have to go get back to work now, and I'm going to continue on with this. I don't know if I'll update you guys again before I finish it or not. It's if I'm zooming through it fast, or if I have any thoughts to tell you. I feel like I won't have many thoughts. Maybe just because it's Casey West, I probably won't have, like, any other thing to tell you about this book, to be honest. So I'll probably come back to you with my final thoughts, but if not, you'll see me again soon before that. Alrighty, so it's the next day. I finished, Love Life and the List last night, but first of all, I looked like trash yesterday, and second of all, I just didn't update because I was kind of busy. I didn't really have a chance. I was trying to finish my assignment, like I said. I think I'm officially graduated now. In other news, Love Life and the List, let's chat about this. So I'm between a 4 and a 4.5. I am leaning a bit more towards a 4-star for this. But Casey West is someone who constantly just impresses me, the fact that like I love everything she writes, which I find is so rare with like a lot of authors I read from, because usually there's like I'm either like disappointed, I'm like it's not as good, or whatever. And Casey West is just somebody that like whenever I pick up one of her books, I absolutely enjoy them. Like I think the lowest, like I said, I gave a book was 3 stars, and even so, like I would consider that book, like I still quite enjoy that book, which was The Film Boyfriend, if you're curious. I was really excited to read this one. I knew this one had a best friend relationship. It was the only one that I knew had a best friend relationship besides On the Fence. So I wanted to see how that was going to turn out. I just love the way that Casey West writes. Like I just really connect with her writing. This one was cute. Like I said, it was like a friends to lovers relationship, and I thought it was pretty cute for the most part. I think most of what I was missing was just the extra oomph. While I like really wanted the characters together, I felt like compared to maybe like other books I've read, I didn't have like an overwhelming sense as much. I will say though, this I think out of any of Casey West's books was like I think the one time I was curious like if they actually were gonna end up together. Like I had to double check, and I'm pretty sure like in all the Casey West books I've read, if this is a spoiler to you, I'm sorry. But I kind of know her writing style now at this point, and like the characters always get together, and that's something like I love about her books. I just love happy endings, and this is just like cute happy fluff. And so this one I like double checked. I'm like they're gonna get together, right? Like they're still gonna be friends and all of this stuff. Like I had to double check because like I don't know, this is I think the most uncertain I've been. I did have theories on like I guess Cooper, which I was like not theories but thoughts on how they were going to get together or how it was going to end up, and I was very right. Like even so, like I don't really mind. I don't really care if it's predictable how they get together or whatever. Like that's not really a big deal to me. I think Overlist is like a cute, fluffy, contemporary. It takes place in summer too, so if you like summer books, then definitely check this out. I think it definitely is similar to Since You've Been Gone. I heard that comparison. I think it's definitely similar because there's both like lists in both and they're trying to accomplish things. And I think I mentioned this before, but I really liked how the characters went and did all these things together, and like it wasn't like just her going out of her comfort zone to improve her art. Like he joined her and he did things with her, and I just really enjoyed that aspect of the book. Anyways, I thought this was cute and fun and fluffy and wonderful, so would recommend this. It's been a while since I've actually filmed a part for this video because I wasn't really sure how long I wanted this vlog to go, but I read 5 books for this video, which I wasn't sure what I was going to do at first when, I guess, organizing this video together, because there was a lot of books that I wanted to read for this video, so let me know if you want me to do a part 2. Without further ado, I'm going to be ranking the books in order of, well, I guess favorite, but also like my least favorite relationship to my favorite relationship that I read for this video. So my least favorite relationship was from The Fascinators by Andrew L. Folius, because for the reason that it wasn't what I thought it was. From the synopsis, it sounded like it was going to be a friends to lovers romance, and that is not what it was. The book was kind of a disappointment to me in general because it was compared a lot to The Raven Boys, and it sounded like it had a fun, strong friend group, and that is not what this was at all. So I was strongly just disappointed by this book. It was one of my most anticipated releases, but it just didn't live up to that. Number 4 on my list, we have Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo, and so that's Mal and Alina. While I have since read Ruin and Rising, I will say that I do think this is my least favorite book in the series. Ruin and Rising and Shadowbone I think I love equally, but this book was bad. Especially with the toll it really took on Mal and Alina's relationship, as there wasn't really much of anything. There wasn't a lot of romance in this book compared to the other 2 books. The other 2 books are a bit more heavier on the romance. This one, it was like not even there for the most part. They didn't really talk at all, and then like anything that like happened with the romance kind of just frustrated me. So that is why they are at number 4. At number 3, we have Ashton and Willow from Gilt Hollow. I really enjoyed this book. Lori Langdon just has a way with writing. I really enjoy like everything she writes, so I will continue to read her books. This is the first book I've read by her that was not the Dune series. This one's a bit of a more non-traditional friends to lovers, as they kind of went from friends to, in a sense, enemies, to then friends again to lovers, so that was cool to see. I don't think I like that trope as much as I like the friends to lovers one. I'm more on like they're best friends and there was no enemies in any way at any point in time. So I don't think I liked that as much, but I still did enjoy this book. I did like the relationship between the characters, and while I did predict the mystery element from page 2, I still did really enjoy this, and I thought it was a fun read, and I would recommend it. At number 2 on the list, we have Abby and Cooper from Love Life and the List. This was a solid friends to lovers romance, just your average typical friends to lovers thing, and it's Casey West. Casey West writes a lot of contemporary romance, and this one definitely did have more of a focus on the romance, so if you like that kind of stuff, I think you would like this. I definitely preferred this to On the Fence. I wasn't sure which one I would prefer, but I think I do prefer this one, which Brett On the Fence also has a best friend relationship. And this one, the main character has a crush on her best friend, and I feel like it kind of reminds me of My Two First Loves. Now that I'm thinking about it, this kind of reminds me of My Two First Loves from Choices, because she's pining after him, and he's not really pining after her. I just overall, like, I did really enjoy their friendship and the summer aspect. This book was really great. I gave it 4 stars. I don't know if I love it as much as her other books. Like, a lot of them I think I do love more, but this one was still, like, fun, and I gave it 4 stars. So, the relationship was cute. It accomplished what it needed to accomplish. Then, my favorite book, and then also favorite relationship that came out of this video was Azza and Jason from Magonia. Oh my goodness, they were written so well. I don't know if I've written a relationship written this well ever in my life, which is a lot. Like, I feel like the author didn't have to do a lot to convince me that they were meant to be together. I feel like while, like, the romance isn't, like, necessarily the forefront of the story, it's, like, the way the author wrote the relationship really convinced me the two characters were, like, meant to be together, even though, like, soulmates don't exist in this book technically, like, they don't really mention that. Like, I was convinced, like, they were, like, one another's soulmate. Like, I thought, like, their souls just felt, like, intertwined to me. Like, I feel like they were so meant for each other. I loved their relationship. I thought they were so cute. And then this whole book was exactly what I hoped it would be. I've had this book on my TBR for very many years now, so I'm so glad I finally got around to it, because I have had theories to be a 5-star, and it was a 5-star for me, so I'm so excited about that this was a 5-star, one of my favorite books of the year. I love this book. If you haven't read this book and you're into weird stuff, then check it out. You might not like it. If you don't like weird stuff, you might not like it as much as I do, but it's so unique, such a cool plot line, and I love it so much. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what other tropes you would like me to read from, if I were to do this video again, or if you had any friends to lovers recommendations that you would like me to read in the next video, let me know down below. And I'll talk to y'all soon in a new video. Goodbye!